James Bond has no balls.
Oh shit.
Out of all the shitty, soulless fucking blockbuster franchises out there, Bond is the one that frustrates me the most. But it wasn't always that way. Most of the original James Bond films were just dumb fun spy fanfiction. You aren't expecting a deep plot when you walk into a theater labeled Octopussy.
Wow. Now there's a mouthful.
You go there for the gadgets, the locales, the supporting cast, and the production values. These movies knew what they were, and they didn't try to be anything other than the best Octopussy they could be. Then the brand was rebooted.
I give him 00 status and he celebrates by shooting up an embassy. Is the man deranged?
Kind of. I don't even know how the timeline or the lore of James Bond works, and just saying the phrase James Bond lore is like downing my SSRI with NyQuil, so I'm not gonna find out. The point is, there's a new Bond on the scene, Daniel Craig, swimsuit model, and these Bonds tried to be more grounded with adult themes. But were they though?
No.
The new Bond is the same dumb Bond movie, it just tries to sound deeper than it actually is.
Storm's coming.
It tries to sell us this gritty, broken Bond, but Bond's issues never limit him in any way or affect anything he says or does, and nothing is learned in the end. People just tell Bond, you've got problems, and then he goes on to be a perfect hero anyway. You see this in other franchises too, in admittedly more annoying ways. And side note, could we stop putting flawless characters into heroes' journeys? Please? Anyway, the new Bond films say they're about something, but aside from like 1 or 2 scenes, they're not really about it. They'll have like one scene in the beginning, one scene in the end, and a middle section that's just complete nonsense.
And how the hell could Bond be so stupid?
It's frustrating, and this is what I mean when I say that James Bond has no balls. I'm not talking about the character. I'm talking about the plot. And to prove it, I'll go through every single Bond film in the Daniel Craig run, minus the upcoming one, No Time to Die. Now, before we really dive into this, I should probably mention that the goal of this review, as with every movie review, is to prove that I'm objectively correct and to make you feel bad for enjoying these films. With that out of the way, let's start this video off with Casino Royale. The beginning of Casino Royale actually starts off pretty strong. Not only does it have the best intro song out of all the Craig movies, but this film is the ballsiest Bond of the Daniel Craig run. It shows a nice, cocky, headstrong, thick, sloppy JP. James Bond screws many, many people over, and a lot of it is his fault for being dumb.
And how the hell could Bond be so stupid?
He isn't good at spying on people, he isn't good at bringing in people alive, and even the little things he does are like sloppy. This could be a negative, however, the film kind of leans into Bond being a little more wet behind the ears.
You stormed into an embassy. You violated the only absolutely inviolate rule of international relationships. And why? So you could kill a nobody. We wanted to question him, not to kill him.
I thought that one less bomb maker in the world would be a good thing.
Exactly. One bomb maker. Hardly the big picture, wouldn't you say?
Want a clean kill or do you want to send a message?
We want him alive. This may be too much for a blunt instrument to understand, but arrogance and self-awareness seldom go hand in hand.
It sets up a Bond that'll eventually learn to hopefully be less brash and impulsive.
So you want me to be half monk, half hitman?
Any thug can kill. I want you to take your ego out of the equation and to judge the situation dispassionately.
And more mature and patient, more like the Bond that we know. It's like a Bond origin story. Then it drops the ball. Because while it sets this stuff up, it doesn't really develop it. People will just say James Bond bad over and over again.
For God's sake, you're supposed to display some kind of judgment.
MI6 looks for maladjusted young men that give little thought to sacrificing others in order to protect Queen and country.
I knew it was too early to promote you.
According to Villiers, you're the best player in the service. Trust me, I wish it wasn't the case.
Now, having just met you, I wouldn't go as far as calling you a cold-hearted bastard, but it wouldn't be a stretch to imagine. And now he knows something about you. He knows you're reckless. Take the next one. There isn't enough room for me and your ego. You lost because of your ego, and that same ego can't take it. That's what this is about. All you're going to do now is lose more.
I would ask you if you could remain emotionally detached. But I don't think that's your problem, is it, Bond?
No.
And then Bond just continues the mission anyway. Bond's brashness still gets the job done, and he never has to change or evolve.
Well, then you're an idiot.
I'm sorry?
I said you're a bloody idiot. Look in my eyes. I can beat this man, you know that.
Monsieur Bond wins.
Making the struggle fall kind of flat. In the end, James Bond's GF dies after betraying him.
If you do need time.
Why should I need more time?
Job's done. The bitch is dead.
And he's all like, wah, I don't trust people now. And M is like, then you've learned the greatest lesson of all, brave hobbit.
You don't trust anyone, do you, James?
No.
Then you've learnt your lesson.
What the fuck? Where did this come from? He spends so long building up a Bond that's a brash killer, and his final lesson is, don't let anybody emotionally connect with you, and don't trust a woman with your money. Granted, this is on brand, but it isn't really what the film telegraphed from the beginning. Now, before y'all jump up and say that I want Bond to be a fucking Care Bear or whatever, I don't. He's always going to be at least 3 parts piece of shit, and honestly, I prefer him that way. And I'm fine if this film wanted to be a shallow, wish fulfillment, fantasy, whatever, with a blank slate Bond. And I'm fine with a deep film that has Bond as a 3-dimensional character. I just want this movie to commit. I am of the philosophy of do it right or don't do it at all. And if you are going to have that 3-dimensional Bond with struggles, then the struggles need to impact Bond. If they don't,
Monsieur Bond wins.
then there's no point in having them in the film. Bond tries to be deep with this edgy 3-dimensional character, but it does it poorly because nothing that Bond goes through really impacts him in any way. There's good stuff in Casino Royale, and I'll still flip it on from time to time to rewatch it, but by the end of the film, these moments are as much window dressing as the fancy cars. Even if I like Casino Royale, it still has no balls, because it doesn't follow through with what the movie promises. And as we will see moving forward, every single Bond has this problem, including our next film, Quantum of Solace. We all know it sucks, but it also has even less balls than Casino Royale. We begin the movie by interrogating one of the bad guys from the last film, and M brings up Bond's dead girlfriend in the middle of an interrogation in front of all of Bond's friends.
But I do need to know, Bond. I need to know that I can trust you.
And you don't.
Well, it'd be a pretty cold bastard who didn't want revenge for the death of someone he loved.
Like, you couldn't have picked a better time to bring this up? And Bond is just like, shut up, Mom. I'm so over her.
You don't have to worry about me. I'm not going to go chasing him. He's not important. And neither was she.
Then it turns out our villains are a secret organization with people everywhere, including one of the agents in the room with them, M's bodyguard, who then shoots one of the other guards, and then he or Bond, I'm not sure which, shoots the bad guy from the first movie, then Bond shoots the bad guy bodyguard, and M is upset because Bond's murder spree cost them intel. Cost them intel. Jesus fucking Christ.
You had to kill him. Couldn't bring him in for questioning so that we might...
But wait. Didn't we do this exact kind of plot in the last movie? Bond is too brash and doesn't bring in people alive? Well, yeah, but this time it's totally different because Bond is slightly more angry because they killed his GF. And they also killed his friend Mathis from the first movie, who we know nothing about. They thought he betrayed Bond in the first film, and then we figured out he didn't, and then he just dies. Why even have him in the film? Either way, as he's dying, he tells Bond to get over his no GF and trust people again. and that's one of the movie's themes: trust. MI6 don't trust their allies, their own organization, or even Bond.
Bond is running wild. It's to say he hasn't been turned.
Then they even drive the theme home by transitioning from a scene where M and some government dude talk about people they can trust to a moment of vulnerability between Bond and the new Bond girl, Camille. This scene also establishes another theme in the film: revenge.
What is it that Green has that you want?
He's not green, it's Medrano.
Camille wants revenge on some dictator for
He shot my father. Did things to my mother and my sister. And then strangled them while I watched. And set the house on fire.
Bond realizes he ruined her revenge plans.
It's the one I pulled you off the boat.
I waited years for that chance.
I apologize.
James Bond reveals he wants revenge for his no GF.
Seems we're both using Green to get to somebody.
You lost somebody?
I did, yes.
You catch whoever did it?
No. Not yet.
And she just responds with,
Tell me when you do.
so we got two themes: revenge and trust. So how does the film show revenge is a good thing or a bad thing? Will Bond learn to trust people again? The answer is go fuck yourself. The movie wants MI6 to doubt Bond's loyalties to their side, but rather than carefully showing how the plot can make you feel that way naturally, MI6's trust issues aren't developed beyond good actors saying, "We are scared," over and over again. Supposedly, eco-fascist Hydra could be anywhere, even their own agents, but after The Bodyguard in the beginning, there are no big betrayals, there's no bad guy on the inside. The only thing close to this are the Americans, or I guess specifically David Harbour's character. But it lacks weight, because it doesn't really affect the movie at all beyond one more fight scene. And it's the worst one in the movie, so the whole theme of trust falls flat. Meanwhile, Bond's trust issues and his supposed quest for revenge never affect his mission or anything he does at all. He never chooses revenge over getting the bad guy or whatever. He never learns to trust Camille in some scene of teamwork or whatever. He just does the same thing he was already going to do, but with the pouty face. His whole movie just keeps telling Bond that he's sad about his girlfriend.
Forgive her. Forgive yourself.
But nothing happens. They don't move from there. They just jog that plot in place over and over again, while Bond just smugly smirks at the camera.
It's a way of saying that everything he touches seems to wither and die.
Shall we?
You two do make a charming couple, though. You're both, what's the expression? Damaged goods?
Why the fuck even have it in the movie then? The ending doesn't really tie anything together either. In the end, Bond and Camille go after the bad guys, and Bond decides not to take his revenge and save the life of the villain. Which on paper is fine, but wait a minute, hold on. He doesn't knock out the villain or anything, he just kind of leaves him there. Yeah, he'll stay there in the exploding base, waiting to be arrested. You dumb fucking... But okay. The movie is trying to say that Bond is choosing his mission over revenge. Got it. Meanwhile, Camille does take her revenge, and she has a panic attack from the fire because she's figuratively brought back to the worst night of her life. She asked Bond before to tell her how revenge feels when he gets it. Now she is the one that knows the feeling, and it's miserable. So this film is saying revenge is not good, it's not gonna satisfy you. Cool. But hold on. Then Bond drives the villain into the middle of the desert, which is basically killing him. There was no town nearby, no water. He actually gives him a can of oil instead of water as a shitty joke, because the film was about water even though people thought it was about oil at first. But either way, this is a death sentence. So he did take his revenge? Then why emphasize that he didn't let the villain die earlier? And worse, the revenge is framed as this badass moment. So why have Camille be miserable about her revenge? Why have this sad scene in a car 5 minutes later? Is revenge only cool when Bond does it?
Better keep thinking. He's dead. Now what?
Have you ever considered piracy?
And then she asks,
Do you think they'll be able to sleep now?
and Bond replies,
I don't think the dead care about vengeance.
that makes no sense as a reply to her question. And this is what I'm talking about. They don't care about actually building a theme. They just want to sound cool. They're just trying to cram the theme they should have been building up to organically in this awkward, stilted, forced conversation. There's no, like, arc in this movie. Shit just, like, happens. They don't really care if things are, like, developed or if they make sense. What matters is that things sound mysterious.
I don't think the dead care about vengeance.
Like, ooh, you're so deep, Bond. There are moments that I like in this movie, just like the last one. I do like how Camille is like,
I wish I could set you free. But your prison is in there.
and then Bond goes in for the kiss. When they didn't really have any romantic tension before then, it's kind of showing that Bond's sexcapades, at least in this series, are a way of avoiding talking about real shit. How ironic then that this movie's biggest problem is wimping out whenever it's about to go for something real. Let me reiterate, it is fine if Bond just wants to be wish fulfillment, but then don't have this harrowing tale of revenge. Just be a spy movie. This film wants to seem edgy and deep and cool, but in reality it's just a mediocre Bond film. It's got cool moments, but they don't build up to anything more because this movie contradicts itself too much. Bond wants revenge one moment and not the next. They want a movie about a Bond who doesn't know who to trust, but Bond also has friends everywhere. They want a movie about the dangers of revenge, but also a power fantasy about killing the people who wronged you. No balls. One thing I will give Quantum of Solace, though, it has the funniest joke in the entire Daniel Craig series.
We have a reservation.
Hola.
You're going nowhere. We are teachers on sabbatical. This fits our cover.
No, it doesn't. Get in.
Hola, somos maestros on el sabbatical. Y nos ganamos la lotería.
And then there's Skyfall. This film is kind of like the popular favorite amongst a lot of people. And honestly, I think this film is even worse than Quantum of Solace. Yeah, I fucking say it. Fuck off, it's my video. There are parts of this movie that I like. The movie is gorgeous. Skyfall is a good Bond song. The intro is also nice. It shows a Bond that struggles in the film and it alludes to the death of M later in the movie. In theory, I like how M is kind of the Bond girl of this movie.
Just us, no one else.
There's a lot of potential for this movie to be deep. And the film definitely wants to be taken seriously. The problem is, the writing still lacks balls. The movie starts off okay. Bond sees another agent die, and he can't help him because he has to be on the mission. So that's our theme. A minute and a half in, Bond is scared of his own mortality. He's got no revenge, no GF, no one or nothing to live for, and he's scared that if he stays in the business long enough, he'll end up dead in a chair alone. But then like 2 seconds later, he gets shot and everyone thinks he's dead. And then he leaves the secret agent life and he lives like a spring break junkie for a little bit. It's supposed to be like he's popping pills and drinking to avoid all the shit he's been through with MI6. Or maybe it's like a distraction for the excitement he's missing now that he's living civilian life. Maybe it's like a PTSD thing, and this is fine. But then he comes back, like, within the first half hour of the movie, when there's evil afoot.
What? Evil?
And then the movie just moves on.
Because we're under attack. And you know we need you.
Now, to be fair, when Bond returns, he has to take a secret agent test.
You'll have to be debriefed and declared fit for active service. You can only return to duty when you've passed the tests, so take them seriously.
And he's out of shape, and he's worse at shooting, and he has a drug problem, and he failed the tests.
I didn't know Bond passed the tests.
He didn't.
But they cleared him anyway. And normally you'd say, oh wow, they're incompetent dumbfuck. But the film also tries to acknowledge this.
Is there any of the old 007 left? My turn.
He misses the shot, get it, and someone dies because of this, and you're like, oh wow, maybe there are lasting consequences here. Will this film actually have balls?
No.
Nope, it's just a standard James Bond film.
It's a waste of good scotch.
Because of fucking course nothing matters.
The inevitability of time, don't you think?
They just have snide references to him getting old.
Sometimes the old ways are the best.
Old dog, new tricks.
But Bond, again, isn't affected by this in any way. This is all you get, over and over again.
What did you score on your marksmanship evaluation?
70.
40.
They mention his failing tests and his drug addiction, but there's never a time this affects him. There's never a time he's unable to complete the mission because he's withdrawing from pills. There's never a time he's too old or out of shape to chase the bad guy. They just tell Bond he's out of shape, and then he does the job anyway.
Not bad. Not bad, James, for a physical wreck.
We don't see a washed-up James Bond in this movie. The beginning of the movie is a lie.
Your knees must be killing you.
Imagine if they started the movie with a confident Bond, and over the course of the film, he feared his mortality more and more. Maybe he fights agents that are younger and more agile than him, that make him feel old and obsolete, and then you have that fake death in like Act 2, maybe the end of Act 2, and maybe he's with the Bond girl, and he has the opportunity to live a really happy life with the Bond girl, but the bad guy is still alive. So ultimately he leaves it behind to complete the mission and keep being 007, because the task ahead of him is more important than his own happiness. You know, like it's an arc or whatever. As it stands, the first 40 fucking minutes of this nearly 2.5 hour movie is selling us this too old for this shit Bond. But if you removed it from the movie, nothing in the plot would change. Absolutely fucking nothing. So what other themes are there? Well, they go for a theme of like betrayal in this film as well. Bond and M have like an angry conversation over Bond nearly getting shot.
I made the only decision I could, and you know it.
I think you lost your nerve.
What do you expect, a bloody apology? You know the rules of the game. You've been playing it long enough. We both have.
Maybe too long.
Speak for yourself.
Bond feels betrayed. M doesn't care.
Ronson didn't make it, did he?
No.
Bond and M have a kind of like mother and son dynamic going on that was very briefly touched on in the last movie.
So what's your interest in Green?
Well, amongst other things, he tried to kill a friend of mine.
A woman?
Yes. But it's not what you think.
Your mother?
She likes to think so.
But the movie tries to flesh this out a bit more. Compare how M reacts to Bond coming home.
Where the hell have you been? If he says he's ready, he's ready.
To how other people react to Bond coming home.
We can always do this later.
You have the perfect way out. Go and live quietly somewhere. Not many field agents get to leave this cleanly.
Do you get out in the field much?
You don't need to be an operative to see the obvious. It's a young man's game.
And then you meet the main villain, Raul Silva. He's a master hacker because he used to work for MI6. And while he was an agent, he was also M's favorite, much like Bond is now. But then he got compromised, and M traded his life for the lives of 5 other agents. And when he tried to take the cyanide pill the agency gave him to avoid giving up information, It didn't kill him. It messed up. It scarred his insides, literally scarring him for life. M and the agency really fucked him over. And you kind of get where this guy's anger comes from. And what's more, what's to say that M wouldn't do the same thing to Bond if it came down to it?
You're still clinging to your faith in that old woman, when all she does is lie to you.
She never lied to me.
No.
No.
Subject is not approved for field duty and immediate suspension from service advised. What is this if not betrayal?
When Bond confronts M on this later, she doesn't even regret it.
You're smaller than I remember.
Whereas I barely remember you at all.
Strange.
Silva has some monologue about rats, which is basically saying we are violent, broken men because M and the MI6 organization and the world at large made us that way. Bond claims that he made his own choices, while Silva points to his broken body held together by pills and alcohol and blames M for making him that way.
Evaluation failed. Psychological evaluation, alcohol and substance addiction indicated.
And you get where Silva's coming from. Meanwhile, MI6 is in shambles after Silva's hacking releases the names of the agents and after he blows up the building. The government is questioning the need for MI6 at all if they're gonna fuck up this much. The heads of MI6 are constantly talking about how they need to evolve and get out of the shadows.
Has taken the position we're a bunch of antiquated bloody idiots fighting a war we don't understand and can't possibly win. We can't keep working in the shadows. There are no more shadows.
Figuratively speaking, though, these are the agents questioning their parenting decisions with Silva. MI6 is trying to put the blame on M, saying she's been in the game for too long and that she should retire. M doesn't want to retire, and you get the impression that this is all she has in her life.
So before you declare us irrelevant, ask yourselves, how safe do you feel?
So M and Silva serve as cautionary tales for Bond.
You know the rules of the game. You've been playing it long enough. We both have.
Maybe too long.
Speak for yourself.
M is what happens when Bond lives and gets promoted, and this is all he has left in his life, and Silva is what happens if this agency eventually breaks him.
The Empire, MI6. You're living in a ruin as well. You just don't know it yet.
Silva has a point, and Bond knows it.
Just look at you, barely held together by your pills and your drink.
Don't forget my pathetic love of country.
So when Silva says this,
if you wanted, you could pick your own secret missions, as I do.
It feels like a real temptation.
I think you lost your nerve.
What do you expect, a bloody apology?
At least here there are no old ladies giving orders.
Through M and Silva, there's an opportunity here to have Bond question not just his loyalty to M, but to the entire organization. Does M really care for Bond? Or is she just using Bond as a tool? The answer is go fuck yourself. The information of his fellow agents being leaked doesn't affect Bond or his mission at all. You could have had like other agents going after Bond to like try to get their information back, or like maybe they're working for Silva for protection now, or maybe you see other agents die as a result of Silva's actions, but you don't. All of that happens off screen. We have no tangible results of Silva's actions. Okay, but what about Bond questioning his agent life?
I fucked this up, didn't I?
Never comes up until the end.
No, you did your job.
Where Bond decides he should do the thing he already chose to do 40 minutes into the fucking movie.
So, 007, lots to be done. Are you ready to get back to work?
With pleasure, M.
What about M and Bond's mother-son dynamic?
All right. Just us. No one else.
It doesn't affect anything, it's not commented on, and then M dies, and fuck you for expecting more than that.
It's not very comfortable, is it?
Are you going to complain the whole way?
Oh, go on then, eject me. See if I can.
And the ending, like the last two films, completely drops the ball despite having so much potential. Bond is up against a master hacker. In a better film, this could have been like a technology versus old school angle, like Silva hacks Bond's equipment and forces him to use more like old-timey tools, Or maybe he hacks the police and sends out a warrant for Bond's arrest and Bond has to escape the cops. I don't know, you have hacker magic, you have options here. Instead, it's just like...
Latest thing from Q Branch. Called a radio.
And the final fight is just a helicopter in James Bond's family home.
Where are we going?
Back in time.
Oh yeah, and let's talk about that fucking shit. James and M are on the run in his car. Perfect opportunity for character development, and the whole thing is wasted on shitty one-liners.
It's not very comfortable, is it?
Are you going to complain the whole way?
Oh, go on then, eject me. See if I can.
This is the kind of thing I'm talking about. That scene could have built their dynamic. You could have had like Bond taking pills and M having to witness that. Maybe she has to like reflect on, I don't know, what she's doing to him or what the agency is doing to him, or maybe they have a conversation about whether or not she does use him or care for him or whatever. I don't know, there's so much potential there, but nothing.
I suppose that's completely inconspicuous.
Get in.
Nothing at all. Does Bond even have a drug problem? Like, besides the time when he was partying, when else did he do drugs? Like, I can tell you, you can do drugs at a party and not have a drug problem. But whatever. Then Bond decides out of fucking nowhere that their final stand against this hacker bad guy should be at his childhood home.
Storm's coming.
A place with no guns and literally wood defenses. Not like a safe house, not a place with any kind of strategic advantage. No.
No.
Why is Bond doing this? Oh, because apparently Bond has
unresolved childhood trauma.
The night I told him his parents had died, he hid in here for 2 days. When it did come out, he wasn't a boy anymore.
Okay, so maybe this is a place that's like super duper important to Bond. Or not? What the fuck? He cares more about his Aston Martin getting blown up not 30 seconds earlier. So I guess it's not too important to him? So then why the fuck are we even here? Skyfall is not a movie about Bond's past, it's about his future. That's what we established in literally the first scene of the fucking movie, remember? So why is the movie named after a place that Bond doesn't give a fuck about?
Skyfall. Skyfall. Done.
Well, it's because it sounds mysterious and, ooh, Bond has to go to his past, ooh.
Storm's coming.
There are things done decently in this film. M dying would have been sad in a movie that was actually good, but like Quantum of Solace, shit just happens in this movie that seems vaguely cool without making any kind of sense or being thematically coherent or having anyone give a shit.
Well, everybody needs a hobby.
So what's yours?
Resurrection.
Like, shut the fuck up. You're not cool. Nothing in this movie, like, builds off of anything. There's no changes. There's no point to any of the struggles. Nothing moves on. Nothing resolves. There's no arc. There's nothing. All the struggles in this film are only there to make the movie seem deeper than it actually is. It's fake deep. No balls. And now we're finally at Spectre.
Here it is, the moment you've been waiting for.
People say that this is the worst Bond, and they're 100% right. But as we've already seen, Bond has always been not that great at a lot of things. Spectre is just the most obvious example of the failures that have plagued this series since day one. So let's get into it. I could talk about the things that I liked, if there were any. The action scenes aren't the worst. The song isn't as bad as Quantum of Solace. It's still not great, but not as bad as an improvement. Everything else in this movie, though, is either bad or barely mediocre. The movie's beginning is just fine. He tries to assassinate someone. He gets into a really dumb-looking helicopter fight. He wins. Apparently this was an off-the-book mission, and the new M in charge is not happy about it.
Time 007, but in 5 minutes the head of the Joint Security Service is going to walk through that door, and I've got to explain to him how one of our agents decided to potter off to Mexico all on his own and cause an international incident. You had no authority.
Oh yeah, and there's also a merger coming with MI5, who up until this point we've never fucking heard of.
As you know, we're in the middle of the biggest shake-up in the history of British intelligence. The ink's barely dry on this merger with MI5.
Also, they may want to scrap the 007 program.
And already they're itching for a chance to scrap the 00 program forever, and you've just given them one.
And Bond is no longer a secret agent.
As of this morning, you are officially grounded. I'm standing you down from all operations indefinitely.
And he's gonna get left behind. And then there's this cheeky fuck named C.
Well, my door is always open, 007, for my employees.
Who wants to replace MI6 with technology.
This merger is going to be a whole new chapter for us. We're going to bring British intelligence out of the dark ages into the light.
Didn't we just do this shit?
Read a dossier last year on how the 00 program was obsolete, how drones could do all our dirty work abroad. In 3 days, there's a security conference in Tokyo to decide the new world order. If he gets his way, he'll have unlimited access to the combined intelligence streams of 9 countries, including us. Quite.
Okay, this sounds an awful lot like Skyfall, but maybe it'll be different. At least we won't bring up Bond's past again for no fucking reason whatsoever.
I think you've got a secret, and it's something you won't tell anyone, because you don't trust anyone.
All right, let's just get into the plot.
If anything happens to me, 007, I need you to do something. Find a man called Marco Sciarra. Kill him, and don't miss the funeral.
Oh. Okay.
Where did you get it?
In my mailbox, just after she died.
Not sure why this wasn't in the box at the end of Skyfall, but whatever, that's not the point. This is the last will and testament of Bond's surrogate mom, and Bond's home, MI6, doesn't feel like home now that M is gone.
You don't know what you're doing.
It's not personal. It's the future. You're not.
And his family is abandoning him.
Using the smart blood, I've tracked Bond to a point here in North Africa.
We can't help him. C is watching everything we do. We're only handing them more information.
Sir, we can't just desert Bond.
We have to. We only make him weaker.
Meanwhile, our Bond girl, Madeline Swan, also lost a parent, who was also one of the villains. So Bond and the Bond girl have both recently lost their parents. Parents who weren't perfect, but who put their children in precarious situations and left them with scars, but also loved them. Parents who weren't all good or all bad, but complex. And it's a complexity that, up until their death, they were able to avoid.
Well, here's to your father.
I promised myself I would never be hurt by that man again. I cut off all contact. I didn't want anything to do with him or his sick life. And then, with his dying breath, he sends me you.
So the theme in this one is probably dealing with the loss of a parent. So how do they grapple with that complexity and loss now? And how's a Bond without a spy mom who was questioning his line of work fare against an enemy that is, more than any other villain, able to make things personal? And now that Bond is on his own, without M, does he even want to be 007 anymore?
I'm serious. Is this really what you want? Living in the shadows?
And the answer is go fuck yourself. First off, I want to know how this script got made. I want to know who did it, and I want to know where they live, and I want to Blowfield.
Catchy name.
My mother's bloodline.
Fucking blows. This movie desperately wants you to think that he is so fucking cool.
Now I understand why my father lost his mind.
He didn't lose his mind, he was just weak. But at least he understood what he was up against. You see, they failed to comprehend the crucial fact that a terrible event can lead to something wonderful.
But he has like the shittiest motivation, not just out of any Bond villain in this franchise, maybe not even out of the Bond villains in the entire franchise period, but maybe one of the dumbest motivations for a villain in a really long time. Maybe that I've ever seen. So here goes. Apparently, Bond and Blowfield are stepbrothers, and Bond's parents died. And Blofeld's dad took Bond in, and Bond was sad, so Blofeld's dad focused more on Bond than Blofeld, and that made Blofeld so sad that not only did he kill his own father...
Franz Oberhauser died 20 years ago, James. In an avalanche alongside his father.
But he created a supervillain organization. I am not fucking kidding. That's the plot.
The man you're talking to now, the man inside your head, is Ernst Stafford Blofeld.
It is such an overreaction that it's comical and I can't take him seriously. But also, it makes no sense. Because this implies one of two things. Either A, all the villains Bond fought just happened to be registered with Spectre, with the same supervillain corporation, which is dumb.
Seems they were all part of one organization.
Or all of the plots of the previous movies were just Blofeld trolling Bond because of daddy issues, which is somehow even more dumb.
And then, of course, your beloved M, gone forever.
Me. It was all me, James.
It's me, Austin! Oh, son of a bitch! What? It's me, Austin! It was me all along, Austin!
And the movie is kind of leaning on the latter. Like, they retroactively are making the other 3 movies part of some master plan. And if you're wondering if there's any other motivation, that's it. The relationship between Bond and Blofeld never develops beyond this. This is literally all Blofeld gets. A shitty plot and daddy issues. Cool. Wait a minute. This is literally the character motivation of Tommy from the fucking Rugrats movie.
When the new baby gets here, it'll be like, look, Gene, there's that little bald kid in the house again. My mommy and daddy won't forget me.
Sometimes little brothers aren't everything you'd hope they'd be.
For a Bond villain. So the villain sucks, but how's the romance?
Let's go home.
Well, not good. The whole thing is 40 minutes and it develops so fast that it genuinely feels like a parody of spy movies. Like, without the serious scenes, I could see this being in Austin Powers.
You don't have to be cute with me. We're way past that.
We are?
So, Bond and Madeline are cold toward each other at first.
I hope you don't mind. The view can be distracting.
I hadn't noticed.
And then, with his dying breath, he sends me you. Ironic, no? I'll mourn my father in my own time, Mr. Bond. And now I'm going to bed. Oh. Don't think for one moment. This is where I fall into your arms, seeking solace for my dead daddy. You sit there. Keep watch. That's what you're good at.
And they're still cold toward each other a good way in.
Pick it up.
I said I hate guns.
And then 3 minutes later, Madeline is all of a sudden super warm to Bond.
May I get you an aperitif?
I'm not sure. It gets me into trouble. Makes me do crazy things.
I don't know if she's drunk here or if, like, her mood generally shifted that much. And then 6 minutes later, they're hot. Now, to be fair, the love scene does sort of precede them talking about their feelings and throwing a very muscular man off of a train.
Shoot.
The bedrock of any good relationship. But the movie doesn't treat this as some kind of moment of passion like it did with Monica Bellucci. It treats it as this beautiful moment with the score kicking in and Bond stopping to brush back her hair. Like, oh man, Bond has found the one this time. When in reality, it's more like... Then, after 12 minutes of not developing their relationship at all, they meet Blofeld, and he reveals that Bond killed Madeline's dad. It's supposed to be this big betrayal, but these people went from hating each other to fucking each other in like 10 minutes, so I don't care. And then they go from betrayal to I love you.
I love you.
6 minutes later? What the fuck? When did that development happen? Then she leaves him 6 minutes after that. I get why she's leaving him.
I can't go back to this life.
but it's just so fucking rushed. And you know what? Bond's already done this shit right. Compare this relationship to Bond and Vesper in Casino Royale. They work together, they go through shit together, they continue to be together after the mission is done before the finale of the movie is dedicated to her betrayal and him trying to save her anyway. It's not perfect, but compared to Spectre, it's a fucking masterpiece. So how does this all end? Well, if you haven't already guessed, very poorly. The hacker bad guy gets his speech about how the world's gonna leave all of them behind and no one is as cool as he is.
Take a look at the world. Chaos. Because people like you, paper pushers and politicians, are too spineless to do what needs to be done. So I made an alliance to put the power where it should be. And now you want to throw it away for the sake of democracy. Whatever the hell that is. How predictably moronic. But then isn't that what M stands for? Moron.
And then he dies.
And now we know what C stands for. Careless.
Like they wrestled over a gun, and the gun shot the glass, and the glass, I guess, got into their eyes. So they backed away, except the bad guy tripped, and it's so fucking lame. It's so fucking lame. And the build-up to it was terrible too. The whole technology versus old school theme is completely dropped. The thing that saves the day is literally a hacker out-hacking another hacker while Voldemort just sits in a chair and looks menacing, and Bond slowly walks down dark hallways. The climax of this movie sucks, but why specifically does it suck? Well, two main reasons. One, our heroes are not linked to each other at all. One of the best spy tropes is everyone having to work together as a team, and you can have like one team member do this, so another team member does that, and yada yada yada. This way, both people's scenes build on each other, and it makes everyone in the whole mission feel important. It makes you feel like, you know, they're a team, and there's a reason that they're a team for this. Bond doesn't do this. These guys barely feel like a team, so their missions feel boring. But even aside from that, the missions aren't that great, because there's no stakes. Why is Blofeld even fucking with Bond? Because his daddy left him. That's it. That's all the build-up we get. Just two scenes of Bond looking at photographs, and then one scene of him saying, "It was me all along." You figure out later that Blofeld is still alive, and Bond just shoots him on sight while he's just standing there instead of trying to take him in for questioning. Good thing there was glass there, I guess. Then Blofeld reveals the entire place is rigged to explode, and Bond has to choose to try to save the girl or himself. Bum bum bum. The reason this has no stakes is because there's nothing tempting Bond from not saving the girl. This is a meaningless choice for him. Compare this to the exact same situation in The Dark Knight.
I'm gonna tell you where they are. Both of them. And that's the point. You'll have to choose.
Where Batman has to choose between saving Rachel and saving Dent, between saving his love and the only thing that tethers him to Bruce Wayne versus the hope of the city that could allow Batman to put up the cowl and make the city safer. There's an actual choice there, and it involves the themes of the film. But with Bond, there are no stakes, and there's no themes to link it to, so it all just feels empty. Blofeld just fucks with Bond, blows up a room, and then leaves. And Bond has to look out over to a helicopter leaving, and then he gets mad, and he realizes that Madeline is trapped. Wait, what? Was this net established earlier? Why is it here? Should I care that Bond knew where a net was? Just why? Why are the decisions in this movie being made? Wait, he drew arrows down here too? Did Blofeld expect Bond to be down here? Did he put arrows in every hallway of the building just to be sure? What the fuck is this? Okay, it's almost over. It's almost over. So then Bond takes down the bad guy by shooting down a helicopter in what may be the least exciting action scene in the entire new James Bond run. Then Bond chooses not to kill him this time, so I guess something changed in between when he was navigating the building and now. Who fucking cares at this point? Then Bond goes for the girl while Blofeld watches like a creeper. Then Bond goes to Q to get a cool car, because remember he stole a car in the beginning of the movie? Now he steals it again. That's literally the only fucking payoff in this entire finale. What a fucking waste. And not just for Spectre, what a fucking waste with all of these movies. You know, I had a really big soft spot for these movies because they were filmed well, and the cast seems good, and the stunts were real, and it feels like an old school action movie, you know? None of the CGI, video game characters in a subway train shit. It's like people get messed up and dirty and bloody, and, you know, it's physical, it's tangible, it's real, but it's got none of the heart of the old action movies. There's no theme, there's no struggle developed, there's no nothing. There's no lesson learned, no growth, no change, not even basic stakes. Bond is just like a formality at this point. Like, okay, here's the part where Bond has sex, here's the part where he's tied to a chair. You know, there's a scene in Spectre that really sums up this entire franchise to me. Bond walks into a room that Blofeld just blew up. There's a convenient path in the rubble for Bond to walk through, even though literally everywhere else has just random rubble everywhere. And that's how I feel about this entire fucking franchise. It's just whatever's convenient. Not what serves the story, not what will explore the themes you're introducing, not that it'll actually make any meaning or depth or anything happen with Bond's character. Just a bunch of people pretending to be cool and smart while saying nothing. And that's why I think that James Bond has no balls.